Welcome to the Good Grognards. I'm Derek White, the Geek Preacher, and this is
Dan Gibson.
Woo! We made it. We made it online.
All right. Thanks everybody for hanging in there with us. We are
Excuse me.
having to bash a few gremlins on the head tonight, but we are rocking. Oh
yeah, the only problem is you can't kill these gremlins with water, Than.
Well, you can't kill any gremlins with water. That just multiplies them. You gotta get sunlight. Sunlight.
Sunlight, that's right. Sunlight. I feel so bad for forgetting that.
All right. So tonight we are going to talk about what we are calling Appendix GG, or the stories that inspire our games. So first off, as always, we'll get into that in a minute, but first off, as always, we want to take a minute and talk about some grognards that are doing good, some gamers that are doing good out there in the community. And Derek, I will let you kick it off tonight.
Okay, well, one of the things that has really impressed me, and I've been reading some articles on this, and I think it's important to talk about, is how many grognards supported their local game shops during this pandemic. Excuse me. The pandemic has been very difficult on many retail outlets, especially local game stores. And I've spoken to quite a few game store owners in our area, and they were a lifeline for many people while they were quarantining at home, quarantining in place. And people were not just ordering their games off Amazon, they were ordering their games locally, and they were going to their stores. Some of the stores were doing curbside pickup. They were getting board games. Some stores were letting people come in if they were masked. And people really kept some of these game stores going. Unfortunately, some had to close. But now, hopefully, as things are beginning to open back up, though we're never quite sure about that, we're starting to see game stores opening up their spaces once more and hosting game days. I've been approached by a local game store in our area to teach some people how to play D&D twice a month. I'm going to be starting that next week. I think that's just really, really cool. And I think that is an example of grognards doing good. So if you want to be a good grognard and go out there and you don't spend your money at a local game store. I was in a conference the other day and we were talking about this. I was being interviewed for this conference on gaming and on tabletop gaming. And while they were interviewing me, one of the things I pointed out to them is that one of the great things about going to a local game store is that they give away, that many gaming companies give these local game shops previews and demos of tabletop games. And so if you go into that game store, they will let you play that game. They'll let you look at the components. They'll let you see what it's like. You can't get that at Target. You can't get that elsewhere. And they'll tell you if it's a good game. So you don't have to worry about spending your hard-earned money ahead of time and not knowing what you're going to get. And so you can go into your local game store and be a good grognard yourself. Talk to them about the game. See what they know about the game. See if they've got a demo of that game that you can check out. Yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more, but always remember those retail store owners have their overhead. They have their rent. They have to keep the lights on, and they've got to eat. And so I think that many of our game store owners, for us in the geek gaming community, have been real heroes to us during this time, doing their best to keep their stores open. So that's my report on the Good Grognards. What do you got for us, Stan?
Yeah, and thank you for that. My little game shop here where I live is the same game store that I learned to play D&D at like 30 years ago. They're still in business, and they have managed to make it through because they had a community that supported them, even when they had to go to things like Friday Night Magic through Magic Arena instead of being able to have their Friday Night Magic in person, which is a big deal for them. So definitely, please, if you've got a local game shop, please go support them any way you can. Every little bit helps. From a former game shop owner that did not make it through the drop after 9/11, please go support your local game shop. From my side of things, we are getting back to school here in the United States. A lot of our kids are going back to school right now. Mine start tomorrow. And one of the things that I want to point out is that there are a large number of school, in-school or after-school RPG clubs that are forming now. And there's a lot of different takes on them. There's a lot of different flavors. There are D&D clubs. There are clubs for simpler RPGs. There's a lot of different ones out there. They do a lot of good in promoting things like critical thinking, creative writing, analytical thinking, just building social skills and sitting around a table and making friends. Just giving kids an opportunity to do something where they feel encouraged through games, and there's many different ones. If you're interested in trying to find one that you can help out with, or one that your kids would be interested in joining, I'm sure you can look online and find any number that are out there. Here in the Nashville area, we've got a great one called the Heroes Guild. They've been around for several years now, and they specifically do a lot of work with underprivileged inner city kids that may not have those creative writing opportunities available to them in their regular school. So this is a great outlet for them. The enrollment for them in the past has been so high that they've actually had to close enrollment because they just ran out of space in the community center where they were doing their work. So please go check them out if you're local to the Nashville area where Derek and I are, or check out any of the great after school programs out there. Yeah.
Thad, that reminds me of a story I want to share. I'm a preacher. We always have stories.
Yep.
Last summer, during the height of the pandemic, I was pastoring a church here in the greater Nashville area, and we were working with a group called Project Transformation. And what Project Transformation does is it promotes literacy and things like that within our area, and they partner with churches to help kids with their homework. And they provide an educational summer camp. And of course, we could not do that normal educational summer camp. So Project Transformation had us just set up a booth where we were giving meals to people in the community, and kids were coming by and they were getting books to read and things to work on throughout the week. And during that time, I got to meet a kid who was about 13 or 14 years old. And he started talking to my daughter, my adult daughter there, about Dungeons and Dragons. And she's like, let me get my dad out here. And I came out there and I started chatting with the young man. I loaned him a couple of books, loaned him a couple of things I'd written an intro to. But I also loaned him my Dungeon Master's Guide, which I never got back. But I think that was a good loan. And so, that is the biggest thing, as we still don't know the way the world's going. We don't know the way things are going on. I think that supporting these after-school programs, because these young kids, many of them are still learning to play D&D the way we did. Yeah, many, that's one of the things I've found out, is that many of the millennials and the Gen Zers, they're learning to play D&D online, through Roll20, through D&D Beyond, and a lot of those other things. But the younger kids still aren't able to step into that world. They don't have the extra money, things like that. So they're learning how to play D&D the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's great. That's awesome. So, any support you can give to an after-school program or a local game shop that might want somebody to teach people how to play D&D. I recommend all our fellow grognards out there do that. Be a good grognard. When we do this episode, this segment on good grognards, and about grognards doing good, it's not just about the other grognards out there. it's part of us to encourage you as a grognard, a fellow grognard watching this, no matter how young you are, how old you are, is to go out and do some good for your gaming community as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And whenever we ask, for these stories like this, we always say, we'd love to hear Grognard's doing good. We don't necessarily mean the old guard only doing good. We want to hear anybody in the gaming community doing good. If you know of someone out there that is doing fundraising for a charity through gaming, if they are doing these type of after-school programs or community outreach, or they're just doing some really cool creative work, we want to share that out there with folks. So please send those stories in. We're always looking to share those and signal boost them if we can. All right. So I think that moves us over to tonight's topic, Appendix GG. So,
oh boy.
Yeah. So,
yes.
you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll introduce this segment.
Okay.
Media that inspires our games.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of talk in the old school community about Appendix N. We've mentioned it some on this show. We've talked about how even the new Dungeon Master's Guide, the new Player's Handbook, they give us books that we recommend.
Yep.
But we know that our culture has changed a lot since we were kids. The movies are much more accessible now. Fantasy, there is so much more fantasy, science fiction, things like that are out there that can influence your game. So we're not just going to talk about books that can influence your game. We're going to talk about media that influences your game and some media that you could check out that you might not know about that would really, really boost the signal on your game, that might add a little extra flavor to it, a little more fun to your game. It might even inspire you to do something different in your fantasy role-playing game, whatever system you're using.
Yeah.
So Dan, why don't you kick us off with some media, whether it's a movie, a TV show, a book, a video game, a comic book. Comics are your thing, my friend, or some music that inspires you. What are some of your top picks?
Well, I threw the music one on there at the end because I thought that would be our stumper question to see if we had any of that. Movies, man, there are a lot of movies that inspire me. Obviously, I think off the board we should both just kind of lay down Lord of the Rings and get that out there. Yeah. Any form of Lord of the Rings is going to influence us in D&D. There's no way it can't. There, it's on the table. We don't have to talk about Lord of the Rings anymore. Probably the same could go for a couple of other things like the Chronicles of Narnia. We could lay that down as well. Those are our foundations. We love them. They're there. Harry Potter. I think we can lay Harry Potter down and not have to talk it about again. It's had such an influence on everybody as far as fantasy, whether it's how magic works in a modern world or your own take on magic schools. We just had there was just a magic set that was about a magic school, with 4 divisions in it. So those are ones, we're not talking about those. Everybody knows that those are the big foundational things, right? I think we need to go a little bit deeper here a little bit. So, movies that inspire me when I'm thinking about the way that I run my D&D games. All right, off the top of my list, this is going to be a weird one. The Three Musketeers. But...
Oh, that's not weird.
The 90s Disney Three Musketeers.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love it. That's one of my favorites. Yes, it is.
It's just a little cheesy. I like a little cheese in my game sometime. But at the same time, Oliver Platt's Porthos, I can't think of a better rogue. It's just awesome. I'm gonna talk about a different version of Three Musketeers here in a little bit as well. But and that's one. Let's see, what else have I got on my list? I've got we can Hey, thanks for the follow there. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Fragilitas, I think is how we would pronounce that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Where was I? So movies. Also, sometimes I like a good heist, and if I'm going to do a heist film, I'm going to look at something like Ocean's 11. So something that's not in the fantasy realm, not in the medieval realm, but that's a classic heist right there. Also, go a little bit more old school, maybe not exactly a heist, but more of a con job, and go look at the. This just popped in my head, and I've already forgot about it. Robert Redford.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Oh, I know what movie you're talking about. I love that movie. Freaking. I even
Somebody
know
help
the
us
song.
out. Yeah, the song.
Somebody help us out. The Robert Redford movie where they do they
The
play
Sting.
that, the
The Sting.
entertainer. They use the
The
entertainer.
Sting.
The Sting.
The Sting.
Yes.
Yes.
The Sting.
Yes.
One of the. Oh man, I got to show that one to my family.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
think the rest of my family has ever seen The Sting.
Yeah, that's
my goodness, that is
a great one.
Great movie.
And it's another kind of gathering together a group of people to carry out a mission, right? I mean, like you can. Ocean's 11's like that. Both the new one and the classic Sinatra one, Rat Pack one. Gathering together a group of different minded people to carry out a job, right? That is a D&D game. That is an RPG game.
Yes.
So I like those. And then looking at things like animation, I tend to look at a lot of Hayao Miyazaki, Studio Ghibli animation. So things that really influence me there are Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and also Princess Mononoke. Those are probably the two
definitely Princess
that influence Chronicle specifically. There are elements of both of those in Chronicle in different places. To a certain lesser extent, I would maybe also throw in something like Totoro or My Neighbor Totoro or Spirited Away. Both of them are classics. The Totoro piece is because my kids love it, and so I've thrown little splashes of Totoro into the world because of that. But yeah, so those are a few of my movies. Wavefork Woodworks got a comment here. I actually get a lot of my character variety and teamwork based inspiration when building a game from the movie from the 90s called Small Soldier.
I remember that movie.
Yeah,
great movie. Great movie.
Toy Story, but
Toy Story, but where the toys,
but with guns.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Toy Story rips Small Soldiers off, man. Yeah.
So those are a few of my movies. What about you? What are some movies that you look at?
You said something in there that really got me, because this is something I've been thinking about all day as I knew this segment was coming up.
Yep.
And one of the things I began thinking about, the movies that influenced me as a kid in my gaming and the movies that influence me now.
Yeah.
And it's ensemble movies that inspire me the most. Ensemble. So you hit it with Ocean's 11 and all of those ensemble movies. And that made me think, Conan the Barbarian, which I loved as a kid, doesn't really do ensemble really well.
No.
But there's a movie, and it's an older movie, and it stars a few of my favorite people, most notably Val Kilmer, who is an actor I love and adore, and it's Willow.
Yeah.
Willow from the 1980s. And the reason why I think it is perfect for inspiration is because of the way Willow builds the party.
Yeah.
It gives me really great ideas on how you can put a party together without them having to all meet at the tavern. Yeah. One person is given the quest, and then he's got to travel on, and he comes across a guy in jail, who's up there. He's got to pick him up, and then they've got their quest item, which in this instance is a baby. Yeah. And then these two brownies steal the baby. I stole a baby. I stole a baby.
Yep.
And and so now they have 2 brownies. You've got your classic 4 people for the party.
Yeah.
And they build slowly. So, and as a DM, you could play that out quickly, because when you think about it, in the context of that movie, that whole part only takes about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you could really role play that out in about 20 minutes on building the party and putting the party together in different ways. How do you want to come into the game? How do you want to come into the game? And getting your players' input on that. So Willow is one of my favorites there.
The thing I like about Willow's building the party is because you start off with a very Lord of the Rings style grouping that is initially sent out. You've got all of the Nell ones, right?
Yeah.
There's like 9. Is there 9? There's close to 9 probably.
There was Willow, Ufgood, his friend Misho, the prefect whose name was Buckle something, and then 2 warriors.
It's like 2 warriors, right? So it's like
2 or 3 warriors, maybe.
Yeah.
So it was about 6.
It's a group,
It was about
right?
6 of them.
And then they all abandon him. Like it's like, all right,
It flips
we've
it
got
on its ear. It
does.
flips the quest mentality on its ear.
It does,
which is a really good thing to do. Is if your party gets killed, and everybody's got to roll up new characters except for that one guy.
Yeah,
that one guy.
Yep.
Did it gives you some ideas?
Kind of got to grab where he can, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one a lot.
Another one I really like, because like you, I like to inject a lot of humor in my games, is while Shrek does not have a huge ensemble, there are lots of fart jokes.
That's true.
And I do like the fart jokes, because you guys that know me know I like a good fart joke. But I also like Shrek because it flips things on its ear too. You've got the princess who can kick some butt, which I really enjoy. I like flipping those fantasy tropes. You want to talk about a powerful princess. The princess in Shrek is a very powerful princess.
Yeah.
I love that character. Donkey is great for comedy relief, but Donkey also is there as the steadfast companion.
Yep.
That's really cool to have in there.
Yep.
So Shrek is another one that really, really gets me. I really like Shrek. Oh, let's see, on the movies, because I've thought of a lot about TV shows, but movies, no, that's a TV show too. I've been watching way too much TV. But a good action movie. The recent, what is the name of it? I thought was a really good one. It was the zombie movie on Netflix that had the wrestler in it. What is his name? Oh my goodness. I am just having... the Sinbad movies. Willie the Rat says the Sinbad movies from the 50s and 60s. Yes, those. I love Ray Harry. See, I can't remember the guy in the movie that I watched just a couple months ago, but Ray Harryhausen movies, you got me, bro, on Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah,
any Ray Harryhausen movie. The Sinbad movies, Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts, all of those movies are great. And when you say that, Willie the Rat, I think a lot of D&D stuff that came out in the 70s really harkened back to those Ray Harryhausen movies. I think they drew a lot of inspiration for those games. They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper is a good one, but again, not an ensemble movie.
Yeah.
But it does give you ideas on how to challenge kind of the status quo that's going on. But of course, I came here to stream Twitch, chew some bubble gum, and kick ass. And all I am, I'm out of bubble gum.
That's right. So. So there's some movies for you guys. A couple other ones real quick that just popped in my head. Anything in that 80s fantasy genre, when Derek said Willow, that made me realize we hadn't talked about things like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and Legend.
Excellent.
And Lady Hawk. man, any of
Lady
those
Hawk.
definitely are in there as well. I just
Rest
want
in
to
peace, Rutger Hauer.
right. Oh, and I
Loved you,
mean,
Rutger.
and speaking of Rutger, got Never Ending Story. Exactly. There's another one that we didn't talk about. And also speaking of Rutger, Blade Runner, going on something that's not fantasy, but definitely influenced the way that we think about certain genres. Blade Runner definitely is there as well. So lots there.
Lots
okay,
of movies
so
out
you said you had a lot of TV shows. So
Yeah, man. Well, one, and this is one. It may be the obvious choice, but it's the right choice. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
Buffy in the '90s did such an excellent job of bringing a group together. It was a high school show, yes, but it didn't feel like a high school show. And it showed you, and now I will say the first season's a little choppy, but after the second season, they really began playing it up. And one of the things that Buffy taught me as a game master, because I would have been about 20s at that time, was how to let each character shine, even when you have one very powerful character. Dave Bautista, I just remembered my brain. Dave Bautista was in a zombie movie on Netflix. I don't know why that just
Army of the Dead? Was that it?
Yes, Army of the Dead.
There we go.
Which, you could go with the Bruce Campbell movies as well.
Yeah.
But,
Army of Darkness. Yeah.
Army of Darkness. Yeah, you go with Army of Darkness also.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, Buffy just... I really like that about Buffy, because sometimes in D&D, especially older versions of Dungeons & Dragons, you would always have that one class that when they got to a certain level, even if everybody was the same level, they tended to overpower the others. And it's very easy as a dungeon master or a game master to make the mistake of just letting that one overpowered character shine and to work on their backstory and to just shine on them. And so I'd been playing for years by that time, but Buffy really showed me to add that into my games, to how to make other characters shine and give them the spotlight, even though they're not Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something really good that you can pull out from there. That's a great TV show. Another great TV show would be the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. Mm-hmm. I think that it did some excellent things there. There are some newer ones out there, but most of them that I tend to see that come across my Netflix and other media are, they're more kids in high school learning magic type movies. And so I'm just going to kind of put those over there, because you can find any show about that. Yeah. Of course, you've got the classics like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager, all of that stuff. But I want to think of something a little bit different. Yeah. And probably one of the best ones here, and it falls into the whole category. It falls into book, it falls into TV, and it's almost like a movie, and that is The Expanse. The Expanse does a great job, and I need to go back and rewatch that again. But The Expanse does a great job. The Nevers does a great job. It's out there. It's pretty current.
That is pretty good.
And there's this other one that I've been watching, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's about a vampire that goes into the past. That's kind of a good movie, if you ever want to deal with time travel in your games and how to handle time travel in your games. I've watched that. So there is just so much media out there. I can't cover it all, but I wanted to try and pull out some of the modern stuff. But of course, here is an old classic. For somebody on here that might be watching that might be a little younger, or maybe you're a little bit older. But here's one you need to go look up if you've never heard of it. The A-Team.
Boy, there you go. That is a D&D group right there, is it not?
It is the classic. You got
Yeah.
Face.
Yeah.
You got the leader. You got the barbarian. So you got Face, who's the rogue or the thief. You've
Yeah.
got Murdoch, who is your artificer if you're using 5e. You got Murdoch, who's the artificer. You got BA Baracus, who is your barbarian. And then you have the Colonel.
Hannibal. Yeah.
Hannibal,
Yeah.
who is, yeah, he's almost like a paladin, almost
Yeah.
like
Or the wizard, right? He's the one that makes it all come together. Yeah.
That's true because he loves it when a plan comes together.
He does. That's right.
Yeah, a wizard. He's got some levels of rogue too, though. He's like a wizard.
Oh
with
yeah,
some
sure.
levels of rogue.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But that is a classic D&D group. And so if you want to go back and you want to know how to put comedy, adventure, and some things like that, that would be a really great TV show for some old school viewing, is the A-Team.
Yeah.
So what do you got for us, Stan? What TV shows are influencing your gaming?
So I think one of the ones that influences a lot is Leverage. If you haven't seen Leverage, I highly recommend you go try Leverage out. There actually was an RPG based on Leverage for a while that Margaret Weiss Publishing put out, it may have been Sovereign Stone by that point, but either way, it's really good. There's a new version of it that just came out on Amazon Prime, sort of a reboot of it all, but again, it's an ensemble group, has a little bit of everything. You got the hacker, the hitter, the con artist, like all of those kind of things. So that one, quite a bit. Also, though, other ones that I have, and another one that does ensemble really well is Farscape. Farscape has a lot of
Excellent.
a lot of great ideas around taking. It's kind of like Buffy, where you have these monster of the week, episode of the week type shows that are strung together to create one long narrative, and that to me is a really good model for an RPG campaign, right? That's the definition of a campaign, is individual sessions that are strung together for one long story. Farscape does a great job of that, where you start off in the early seasons and it's just them going to random weird planets and you're not sure what's going on. Why are we looking at these strange creatures? And then just a little piece here and a little piece there.
Farscape is the closest thing we've gotten to a Spelljammer TV series.
Yes. And the acting on it's phenomenal. The writing on it's phenomenal. It's worth sticking all the way to the end for. It's really one of my favorite shows of all time. Also, another one I said I was going to talk about, Three Musketeers, another version. If you have never seen the BBC show The Musketeers, please go watch that. It's on Hulu. It's maybe on Amazon Prime as well. It is a bit more of a grounded Three Musketeers story, and really kind of digs into each character a lot. Nice. You still have all of the usual tropes of the Three Musketeers, Athos's background and Porthos's background, D'Artagnan's background of wanting to be a musketeer like his father. All of that's in there, but it's just kind of stretched out and kind of turned on its head. And that definitely is influencing on my game, because some of the in our campaign that Derek's playing in, they work for an adventuring company called the Argent Company, and there are aspects of the Argent Company that are very much pulled from the Musketeers, and so that's definitely an influence there. But that's a great one. Go check that one out. Also, first season, you get Peter Capaldi as Cardinal Richelieu, which might be the best Cardinal Richelieu ever. Now, unfortunately, he went and did Doctor Who in the middle of the series, and they had to figure that out. But he played a really good Richelieu. And then, let's see, do I have anything else? So I think we don't have a separate one for animation, for TV animation. And
Yeah.
I think we can go ahead and throw a few in there. Specifically for me, the thing that started the whole Chronicle idea in the very beginning was Record of Lotus War. If you've never seen Record of Lotus War,
you have to mention that.
It's kind of hard to find these days unless you're willing to like pay Amazon for it. But you can still find it out there. But Record of Lotus War was an anime from mid 80s, early 90s time period where it's a D&D campaign. The original manga that it was based on was someone's D&D campaign that they turned into a manga series. That's what Chronicle My Comic is. It is my campaign in comic form. And so that was sort of the progenitor of it all, was wanting to kind of do the same thing. And it's
I
great.
have to throw in something newer, of course.
Oh yeah.
And we'll probably talk about this more.
Yeah, go for it.
Later
Drop
on.
it.
But Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, that is a show my entire family's loved. We're going to talk more about some things going on with that and our what's new on our shelves. But as a TV series, they really built the ensemble we're talking about.
Yeah.
They went into character development wonderfully. They developed the characters. They would, it's a great example of, I'll give you an example from this for those of you who have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. And you have to understand, I've watched this with both my children, one who's 22, one who's 12. And one of the things that happens when you're running an extended campaign like Fan does is you will have new people come into your campaign. And you've got to find ways to integrate them into the party, into an ongoing campaign. And the way they integrated Toph into this dynamic of these four people you already had running around the world together. Yep. Well, really three people.
It was three. Toph was the fourth.
Yeah. Well, I always consider Appa the fourth.
Not Momo?
not Momo. Momo's just there to cause trouble, but Appa's definitely a party member.
Sure.
In my mind, because I just love Appa. Yeah. I mean, he's big, he's white, and he's furry. I just feel like Appa. But they really integrated Toph in there well. Yeah. Became a part of the plot, became a part of the story. Yeah. Toph became her own character. She had much growth, things of that nature. So Avatar did a really, really great job of giving you some things you can do as a DM. And it doesn't just have to be for a kid's game. It could be for a game with adults, teaching you how to just integrate people into your party. Yeah. The adventures, sometimes it was like a monster of the week, but there's this overarching world-ending plot that they are thrust into, which is really cool how they did that. Yeah. So much stuff that you can draw from Avatar. Yep. One of my favorites. There is so much anime out there that you can draw from. I think we could go all night on all the stuff that's out there. But there's My Hero Academia, which is really, really good to draw some ideas from. But again, I try personally. I like watching My Hero Academia. I enjoy the show, but we're just flooded with so many kids in school learning how to use magic or their powers that I want to see something else. Please give me something else. Oh, and here's one that while it's not an ensemble, I can't believe we didn't mention it. The Witcher.
Oh yeah,
is an excellent series. The Witcher, and that falls into
multiple
next
categories.
Topic.
Yeah.
Before
we go to the next topic, though, there's one more I want to add. There's one more that I want to add. If we're talking about anime, a great example of how you can have a set campaign that has a beginning and an end, and that's Cowboy Bebop. You have your ensemble cast, you have a very specific storyline that needs to be completed, and then you end it. And you don't need to go do any more with it. That's something that a lot of DMs don't think about what is the ending of my campaign going to look like. And that's one of the topics that Derek and I actually have on our list is what do we do when our campaign ends? And because a lot of DMs don't ever think about that. They think, well, I'm just going to start a campaign and it's just going to go till it peters out. And that's fine. But sometimes you can tell a much better story if you know where that's going to end. And Bebop is a great example of what you can do in 13 episodes. Is that right? No, it's more than that. 26. I think it's 26. I think it was a double series. 26. Yeah. But still, very, very short, concise series. And one of the best ever. Okay, so the next one, books. All right.
Well, books, Stan, we have to throw out Lord of the Rings.
That's like I said, at the top of this, we're throwing out Lord of the Rings, Narnia, and Harry Potter on the table. We don't have to talk about them anymore. We know that they're influences. What else have you got?
Well, I've got two that I want to specifically mention.
Okay.
One is old, and one is new, or at least new to me.
All right.
And I'm going to pull up the new one here, but the old one is Thieves World.
Yes.
Thieves World. One of the things, and I will probably say Thieves World defines the way I run a campaign more than anything. A story arc that can be weaved through different stories by different authors, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about the overall story arc.
Yeah.
And if the overall story arc just isn't panning out, which happened in the Thieves World series, you could just move on to other things. I was disappointed they never brought it to fruition, but that sounds like a lot of the campaigns I'm running.
Yeah.
Seem to, like you say, peter out a little bit.
Yeah.
But Thieves World was really good because it brought in interesting characters.
Yep.
It even to this day, it does away with the stereotypes of what does this barkeep or this innkeeper look like. You don't have the classic stereotypes. You've got a lot of intrigue going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It showed me how powerful a city campaign can be.
Yeah.
I've mentioned that before in other episodes that I love the idea of a good city campaign. I love the idea of running thieves. I'm not a fan of the word we use now, rogues. I think rogues are a good class to have, but I still want my separate thief class because I want my pickpockets. I want my foot bandits. I want my scoundrels. I want the guy who's sneaking up behind somebody to beat them over the head to take their purse. I love thieves guilds in cities, things like that. And so Thieves World really did that for me. It also really made me think of different ways of doing magic within a game.
Yeah.
And so Thieves World has so many rich things that you can mine. You have mercenary companies coming into the city along with soldiers. So you got this group of soldiers that comes into the city, but then you have these mercenaries who are in the same army, but they're not there for the same reasons. Right. The soldiers are loyal to the Empire. They've been conscripted by the Empire. But then you have the sacred banders who come in with Tempest and all of them. And so that is a level of intrigue that you could put into a game where, you've got two of these groups patrolling the city, the average city soldiers. Yeah, you can mess with them, but oh my goodness, watch out. That's one of the hired mercenaries, and he is going to take you down. Yeah. And then you could have players who their origin story is with some of them came in with the Mercenaries Guild, and they're hardened, while some of them are fat, lazy city soldiers, but they want to move beyond that and become something more. You have thieves who are perfecting their craft, who take their thievery seriously, while you have some thieves who are just your average hustler out there on the street.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of dark, gritty stuff that can be mined from Thieves World.
Yeah, absolutely. Thieves World was on my list too. Yep, same reasons. You cannot. I mean, there's a couple of other city campaigns. City settings for city campaigns that we can talk about. We can talk about Lonkmar with Fawford and Greymouser. Definitely also. But Thieves World was the one that was the one that actually kind of like set me off on that path of like, oh, okay, this is what sword and sorcery cities look like. And it's so weird because I actually came to it through the Sanctuary novel, like the anthology, as opposed to the actual series first. Found it at my local library. I've got a copy still over there on the shelf, but that's a great one. And Thieves World is starting to get a little hard to find. You can't find those books too much these days. So, but if you can find it, it's a good one. Let's see, what have I got on my list? Well, so if we want to stay in the city, or I mean the Thief World, a little bit newer one. The Gentleman Bastard series with Lies of Lamora. Yes,
that was my other one. Oh,
yeah.
I
did I get you?
That. Yeah, I
so
just
good.
discovered it. I'm not even halfway through the first book, man.
It's so good.
No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil it, but if you like Thieves World, I feel like Lies of Lamora and the Gentleman Bastards is kind of a bit of a spiritual successor. I wouldn't say it's a direct spiritual successor because there are differences, but oh man, that first book is so good. I highly recommend that one. So yeah, definitely check that one
Here's the gaming idea I've gotten through this, okay? Since we're here to talk as Grognard to gaming ideas, because I've been thinking about this, and I'm going to be, I'm going to be running some one-shot games and things like that. And so here is the idea I got from this, because I really am not liking a lot of what I see about rogues in 5e, because they are just roguish. They're not as much of a thief as I want to see them be. But I know I could tweak that, because 5e is easy to tweak.
It's a subclass.
But here is the thing I really started thinking about. One of the problems in D&D is that it appears that a wizard, and this has been a problem since the early days. We had this problem with first edition, second edition, third edition, fourth edition, and fifth edition. Those classic things that thieves do can be done with magic, right? You know, you want to open the door, there's the knock spell. You want to check for traps, there's a spell. You want to do this, there's a spell. There's a spell. There's a spell.
Yeah. Although knock is really loud. It is not a thief way of opening the door.
Yeah. But then, you know, in third edition, you could do the silent spell feat, and there you go.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Here's what I was thinking about as a gaming idea with a thief in D&D. One of the things a thief can really do is they can disguise themselves. And in D&D, if you disguise yourself magically, most creatures can eventually see through it. If you use disguise as a spell, things like that, that can be done. That can be, you know, seen through eventually. But I love the idea of a thief really just naturally doing this, doing things in a high magic world. This thief has to do things the natural way, and everybody's relying on the use of magic so much that this thief slips through the cracks. The thief disguises themselves. You know, everybody else is using, oh, let me detect magic to see if this is the person. Oh, no, he really must be that person. Well, what he's doing is a performance check, or he's doing this, or he's done a good job of disguising himself. He's twisting his body, changing the way he looks, changing his height, because I know people and actors that have done that. And I think that would be a really great way to go, so that the player is over here, everybody else is trying to figure out what's going on through the use of magic. But can you imagine somebody trying to cast a spell of true seeing? And you're like, hey, dude, I'm just, it's just makeup. Yeah, you know. Yeah. Which just harkens back to movies, but the Sherlock Holmes movies, where you see Holmes disguising himself on the fly. Well, when you do that sort of thing, a spell's not going to make its way through. So I love the idea of a thief in a highly magical world doing things that slip under the magical radar, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the Lies of Loch Lamore got me thinking about that, because the way that main character is disguising himself. So I think one of the ways we can do that to kind of tweak thief classes is give them bonus languages. You know, let them pick up other languages. Give them, some extras in disguise. Give them a free disguise kit to start out with.
Yeah.
I want to see more pockets picked and more foots padded. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
But that Gentleman Bastard series is, God. Yeah. I felt like I was 14 again, and I was reading the Belgariad, and I came across Silk. Silk from the Belgariad, one of the greatest thieves of all time. He was just beautiful. Beautiful.
So we're halfway through our list. Let's take a break and talk about things that are on our shelf real quick.
Yes.
So, first up, why don't you talk about what has got you excited? What is soon to be coming to your shelf?
Well, I don't know how soon it's going to be coming, but this is the role-playing game Avatar: The Legends. And it is right now the most successful tabletop RPG Kickstarter ever. Let me see what it is up to now, because it's constantly going up. Let me refresh the page. It is blowing my mind. This is now at $4.5 million.
Wow.
That just blows my mind. And I do enjoy the Monster of the Week type of rules. It's using the Powered by the Apocalypse engine. And so it won't be on my shelf for a while yet, but that is something I am excited about. I'm excited the most about this because the Kickstarter has hit so many goals that you don't have to play kids in this world.
No.
And if you saw the second Avatar, if you saw Korra, you know that you don't have to play 10 and 11-year-olds. You can play teenagers, you can play adults, and the new one coming out in this game, they have special classes they're putting in there where you can play adult characters if playing the young kid isn't your shtick. I know a lot of people love things like Kids on Bikes, and they love playing in a Stranger Things kind of world, or they like the Harry Potter-esque type of magical world. Again, that's not necessarily my bag. I'm not saying I wouldn't play in those games, but that's just not my thing. And so I really like that what they're doing on this Kickstarter is they are making it where you can play older characters, adults, and I would love to see what it'd be like to be an adult bender in that world. And they're not just doing it to where you have the bender powers. You can play characters who aren't benders, who don't have that level of power. And they're doing it really smart, because they're going to let you play in different eras of the system, of the lore. So you could play in the Avatar of the Last Airbender era, but there are at least 4 other eras that they've put together, which I think will be really, really awesome.
I got to play in the quick start rules for it. The pre-made characters are all kind of teenager age, but even from what is in the Kickstart rules on the character creation, I definitely think you can do non-teen. I think you could do adults with what's even in the Kickstart. But what you're specifically what you're talking about are some of the ones that are like for characters that are like veterans that have lived through a lot of like the Fire Nation War and things like that. And yeah, it's so cool. If you haven't checked this out and haven't heard about it, I can't believe you probably haven't heard about it if you follow RPGs at all. It's the biggest RPG Kickstarter of all time. We'll put a link to it in our show notes so you can go check that out. But it's on Kickstarter. Magpie Games is the publisher there. But yeah, no, it's a good one. I can't wait. We'll definitely have to get a game going for that one. All right, so my new thing on my shelf, big announcement here, folks. We've got merch. I've been talking about it for a little while. Let me show you what we've got here. This is all now available on goodgrognards.com. Our merch store is live now. None of this, I don't think most of this Derek has seen, so this is his live reaction to this. But first off, I do want to just show we've got stickers. If you want to show that you're a good grognard, we've got stickers in a couple of different sizes there. You can throw those on your laptop. You can throw those on your notebook. You can throw those on your DM screen, wherever you want to put that. Grab yourself a Good Grognard sticker. And then, here's the good stuff. You guys ready? So first off, we have a Good Grognards t-shirt with our logo on it. These come in a lot of different sizes, a lot of different colors. You can go in there and pick what you want. This one is in Derek's size. This is going to him as soon as I see him again. This is his. And then, but you can go grab that now if you want one. And also, this is the shirt that started it all. This was the whole reason why we even thought about doing this show, was the fact that we just wanted a t-shirt that just says #GoodGrognard. So you can tag yourself on the street as Good Grognard. Also has on the sleeve a nice little Good Grognard's logo there. These again come in many sizes, many colors. So go check those out. Please support our show. We would love to continue to do this, but you know, all of this stuff costs money, and eventually we do need to start making a little bit of cash. So please go support us. We much appreciate it. But those are the new things on my shelf. I've been pretty excited to show those off. And if people like it, if people like what we've got, we can put more out. There's a lot of other things we can put branding on. We can have hoodies, we can have mugs, we can have our own Good Grognard coffee mugs, Derek, for our show if we wanted it.
Yeah. Yes, so, that all looks awesome, man. It does. And I appreciate all the hard work you put in on that, dude. They look awesome, and I look forward to wearing my nice new Good Grognard shirt.
All right, so that's our new things on our shelves. Let's get back to our talk here. Got a couple more things. Wrapping it up, maybe not as many on these last few categories, but we want to definitely throw these out there. Video games. Got any video games that influence your gaming style?
I would say the one that probably, I don't know if it influenced my gaming style, but it probably reflected the way I gamed for a long time, is Diablo. Ooh. Diablo 2 especially.
Yeah.
It was about going into the dungeon and getting stuff, man. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. It was a blast. It reflected my gaming style. Baldur's Gate was really good
Yep.
in the
Yep.
early days.
Yep.
That it really showed kind of an open-ended, but I do not play as many of the story-based ones out there. Dragon Age,
Mm-hmm.
uh, is good, but I don't know of any that really influenced the way I game. I think that, I guess because of my age, so many of them just kind of reflected the way I was already gaming. So I don't have any real video games. That was the toughest one for me when I was
Okay.
thinking about that. But what's influenced your games? Because I know there's a lot of story rich video games out there, but I just haven't, that just never was my cup of tea.
Yeah. So I think the ones that have influenced my narrative the most, the way I think about narrative and I think about multiple storylines kind of occurring simultaneously and coming together. The Final Fantasy games, I think, especially the ones that are kind of like in that sweet spot of FF6 to FF9. Uh, that's kind of where like I had that biggest influence on the way I kind of thought about things that were happening in the world simultaneously. It wasn't just about what was happening to my characters or my players in that moment. There's other things going on in the world as they're progressing through the story, and depending on where they hit it, it could be different. And so
Makes sense.
those were ones that definitely influenced that. Final Fantasy VII, that was kind of a big influence on a lot of gamers because it was one of the first video games where the stakes were permanent. Characters died, and weaving that into an RPG setting where, yeah, I mean, we all played second edition and you lost characters all the time because you made terrible death saves, but working something like that into the story where like you build up an NPC to the point that they matter and that they're vital, and then that dramatic moment, giving them the axe, dropping the samurai sword through them, that taught me the drama around the a character loss in a game, and so things like that. I think things like that matter. More modern, and it's hard for me to say that those Final Fantasy games are not modern anymore, because I was in college when I was playing those. But more modern are the open world sandbox games that we have now: Skyrim, Witcher, Zelda Breath of the Wild, even Cyberpunk, for all of its flaws. Just building a world and then letting your players play in it has really influenced the way that I build my games now. I give you guys have 5 or 6 plot threads currently in our game. And every week we've got 1 or 2 players that are like, well, the DM's pointing us at this week. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to follow that. Like, I've got other stuff prepped. If you want to go across the world and deal with this other thing this week, let's go do it. We don't have to do it in a certain order. Giving your players that freedom to play in a world and they can go do whatever they want. It's extra work on a DM's part, and it's not necessarily something I maybe recommend for new DMs. But when you get to the level where you can start thinking on multiple layers about what's going on around your players, do it, because it's very rewarding. It's very rich from a DM perspective, because these guys will go do something different, and I've got to suddenly improv, and there's no better way to build your DM skills than improving. So I think that's where the influence is there from video games. Those are kind of my two tiers there. And then, I don't know, Duck Hunt. I don't know.
I understand. Yeah, yeah. Again, yeah, that sandbox style of stuff. I will say they've come a long way.
Yeah.
Uh,
You
yeah,
you had
they've
a
come a
you had a
long way.
sense of it. Like we've had a sense of sandbox video games for 20 years probably. I mean, the Final Fantasies in a sense were a sandbox style game, those early ones, but they were kind of a sandbox on rails. Like Final Fantasy 1, you could explore the whole world, but you couldn't do this quest until you did this quest, and you couldn't do that
Right.
quest until you did this quest. So it was still kind of sandbox on rails. Now Breath of the Wild, I can go straight to the end if I want to. I'll probably die, but I can if I want to. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are my influences from video games. Comics. Yeah, do you have any comics?
Oh, I do.
I thought you do. I thought you've got a few.
The biggest influence on my gaming. Let me see. Find this. Yeah. This is one of my favorite covers right here. Savage Sword of Conan.
Yep. Yep.
The Savage Sword of Conan, which you can actually get a lot of these now in trade paperbacks. So
Yep.
they're not out of print.
No.
You can still find them in collections.
Yep.
The influence it had on me and still has on me while it doesn't have a lot of the ensemble stuff, it occasionally does. And Conan will have 2 or 3 people adventure with him. But the ideas I got from these dealt with the protagonist. The antagonist, the wizards. It gave reasons for why that wizard was in his evil tower. It gave reasons behind the wizard's scheming, the evil wizard. Because with Conan, that's usually what it is. But it also gave me great ideas for weapons. When you want that extra flavor. I still remember this one character whose name I couldn't remember. But this is something I picked up from Conan back when I was a kid. There were 2 things I picked up from it. And this was a character that Conan beat the living crap out of, cut off his arm, left him for dead. And this guy was supposed to be the type of man who could challenge Conan, right? And Conan left him for dead, but he didn't die. And so he became a recurring thorn in Conan's flesh, constantly seeking out Conan to kill him. And so even as a young kid, it gave me the idea of having an NPC that gets beat down by the party. The party thinks they're dead. And then they just keep coming back and coming back and coming back.
Yeah.
They also, when the party finds out that this particular NPC has been the one that is doing all the machinations behind all the problems they've been facing, drives the PCs are like, oh my goodness, they get that moment of surprise and shock. It's, oh my goodness, it's him again, or it's her again. Oh, I didn't know that. And then they find out they were behind everything. That is just a great feeling in an RPG game because it gives a callback. And that callback gives a sense of continuity to your players.
Yeah.
And the other thing I loved about this NPC is, this character in the comics was because he lost his arm, I think it was his sword fighting arm, he had this blacksmith build him something that went onto his arm, strapped onto his arm, and he could put a sword into it, or he could put a dagger into it, and he could eject the dagger and shoot it at somebody. And I just said, "Oh, dude, that's just awesome." So Conan, Savage Sword of Conan, heavily influenced me. The 2000s had a Star Wars series come out that was really, really good. It had I can't remember the name of the series now. It just went out of my brain, but it was those were really good. there. Even the early 70s Star Wars comics were really good um, for your role playing game. And then, Green Lantern, especially with the way that Green Lantern had kind of this company of people who were going out, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like what you do with the Argent Company in our
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
except for these are kind of like the people patrolling.
Yeah. Space
So,
Police.
yeah, kind of like Space Police, but for my fantasy game, it made me think about putting in orders
Oh
that
yeah.
were not beholding to any government.
Yes.
Their whole like a paladin order that is
Yeah.
not beholden to any particular church or
Mm-hmm.
nation state. The paladin order is just in the world to protect it from evil.
Yeah.
That's their job. They're not going to let any state, any king, any queen, any dictator, or any church tell them how they're going to go about doing it. They know what's right. And their leader, I've thought about putting that in a game, like something like the Templars, and their leaders, they have maybe 3 or 4 leaders, and those leaders are the only ones who give them the marching orders. And those are the only ones this order of paladins is beholden to. And that was kind of my take from the Guardians from the Green Lantern Corps.
Cool.
So those are some of my big ones, right?
I like those. I've got 2. I've got a lot more, but because I'm a comic artist and I had a comic book shop at one point and I read comics, I've got a lot. There's a lot, but I've picked 2 that I would recommend people go look at if you are looking for some type of influence. Specifically, one of these is going to be specifically D&D, and one of these could be a lot of different types of games, different genres. So first off is a book called Telos. This is actually kind of a special book. I'll explain what this is in a second. But Telos is a fantasy. Willie says ensemble heroes like X-Men or Avengers. Absolutely, you had your favorite character, but they all got their moments. That's a great one, especially like 80s, like the Claremont X-Men, where everybody got to shine a little bit. Even Kitty Pryde, who was like the junior X-Men, she got a few issues where she got to shine. Absolutely. Yeah. Telos is interesting because it is a fantasy genre comic, but it is a mixture of lighthearted and tragedy and drama and comedy, and it's kind of crazy because there's a character that's a fox and there's a character that's a tiger guy, and you're like, man, I don't know what's going on here. Is this Robin Hood? But once you get into it and you realize what those characters are and what their backstories are, there's a lot of heart. There's a lot of character building in this series, and it's just a great read. It's such a good series, and unfortunately, the artist, the creator, Mike Wieringo, passed away at an early age, very suddenly, and did not ever get to finish his series. And so his friends came together and did a 2-volume tribute where they finished out the story for him, and that's what this is. But go check out Telos. It's still all in print. You can still find it at your local comic book shop, and it's one of those just hidden gems that not a lot of people know about. It came out from Image back in the day, but you can still find it and check that one out. The other one, though, I think this one's a little more applicable across multiple genres. And that is the Books of Magic. This started out as a Neil Gaiman miniseries, and then eventually evolved into a full long run series at Vertigo. It is it's kids learning magic, Derek, but it's very different.
All right.
It's very different. This is about a character named Tim Hunter who is destined to become one of the most powerful wizards in the DC universe ever. And it's really not just about him coming to grips with his power, but him coming into his own when everyone else in the world, in the universe, in every layer of hell and every level of heaven and everything in between are trying to make him do what they want. They're trying to manipulate him, and him coming on his own and saying, "This is who I am." And the politics between all of these different realms, all kind of vying around him, different creatures and archfey and demons, all trying to come at him and use him for their own purposes, and the way he manipulates through them is amazing. And the first miniseries alone, if you don't read the rest of the entire series, just read the first miniseries. It's one trade paperback collected volume. It has, I think, the best John Constantine scene in any DC property, and it's not even in the Hellblazer comics. And there's one scene where they walk into a bar, a nightclub, where all these demons and devils and all these different creatures are there. It's sort of like Sigil in Planescape, where they all come together at sort of neutral ground. But when they walk in together, John is sort of like his mentor in the first miniseries. When Constantine and Tim walk into this place, they all recognize Tim, and they all are ready to pounce on him and break the truce and everything. And Constantine just walks in, lights a match, lights a cigarette, and then just says, "I'm John Constantine. You've probably heard of me. Now back the fuck off." And they all just back. It's so ballsy, but that is quintessential John Constantine there. And they all do. But you can use this for fantasy. You can use this for Call of Cthulhu. You could use this for Monster of the Week. You could use this in sci-fi. This Scion character that everybody wants to go grab and use for their own purposes. Go check out Books of Magic. It's another.
Well, I'm disappointed in you, Sam.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed.
Why is that?
Because you did not mention something I thought you would mention.
Oh, that you're gonna say it's because I dropped the first F-bomb.
No, I don't care about that. I've almost dropped a few, but no, that doesn't bother me. No, I'm disappointed in you, Tham, because you did not mention Snarf Quest.
So we're talking about things that directly influence the way that we game. Snarf Quest is just one of those ancillary things that,
Snarf Quest influences me. Quest influences. You've seen some of how I play my character. Snarf influences me, I guess, drastically. I am influenced. But it's Larry Elmore. Come on, Thad.
I don't.
But yeah,
I have to drop Larry's name every episode.
Yeah, well, here's my thing. If you guys haven't guessed yet, I love the funny and the irreverent in my games. And you cannot, when I run a game, I love it when my players try to be funny. I will throw things in my games that are funny and irreverent. And so I like that. I want at the table, a great gaming session for me has groans of laughter. It has groans of pain because something, and then it has screams of horror, and then it has shouts of triumph from my players. If I can get all four of those things out of my players, then it's a great game. And so, yeah, I love things like Snarf Quest. Snarf Quest is just, wonderful, wonderful. So many other things we didn't mention, but you did put this one category on here. You say it was meant to stump us, but I think you mean it was meant to stump me, right?
I don't know. I'm trying to think myself. But have you got a
course, of course.
have you got music that influences the way
I
you
may
game?
not be able to sing, but I love music, and you cannot say it cannot. Rudolph Movo says the groan of puns.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly, Rudolph. But of course, we have to mention Led Zeppelin. Ramble on.
yep,
Do you
yep.
not know the lyrics to Ramble on?
Of course I do.
Oh, okay. And what is the best lyric in Ramble on there?
Well, you tell me because this is your pick.
Okay. Let's see. Where is it? Ain't telling no lie. Mine's a tale that can't be told. My freedom I hold dear. How years ago, in days of old, when magic filled the air, 'twas in the darkest depths of Mordor, I met a girl so fair. But Golem and the evil one crept up and slipped away with her. Her, yeah, ain't nothing I can do now. Led Zeppelin's Ramble On, of course, inspires my gaming. Anybody who grew up in the 80s, we also had so much heavy metal. The covers inspired it. Molly Hatchet inspires some of our gaming. I think who was it? It wasn't Frazetta. He did that cover. It wasn't Frazetta. Who did that? Was it?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it was
Frazetta did
Frazetta,
I think it was
the
Molly Hatchet,
Molly
right?
Hatchet cover. Yeah,
The
and Larry
sort
Elmore's
of
got
death
that.
dealer looking one. Yeah, he's
No,
got
I'm
a
not talking about the Death Dealer one. I'm talking about Frank Frazetta. Let me see if I can Google this. Frank Frazetta.
oh yeah, the Axeman on the horse. Yeah,
Yeah, yes, that's it. Yeah, he did the Death Dealer as well. He did the Death Dealer one, but I'm thinking more of it looks like this huge barbarian. Yeah, there it is. It was
he did.
beating the odds. Beating the
Okay,
odds where this
yeah.
guy's on here. I mean, Frazetta did that cover on Molly. Oh no, this is the one. Oh,
I mean,
I
he did several.
he did several. I didn't even realize till I googled it how many he did. But the one that Larry Elmore has on his wall inspired me a great deal, and it shows like this Viking warrior with a battle axe.
Yeah,
And seeing that album cover. So, yeah, I was inspired by the artwork, but also my older brother's about a decade older than me. So he was listening to Molly Hatchet as well. And so that's where I first came across some Molly Hatchet was because of my older brother. And so, yeah, there's a lot of music. Then we had, Quiet Riot, all those big heavy metal bands of the 80s. I'm not talking hair metal though. I don't know if I got any inspiration from the hair metal, but my friends, they were really listening to a lot of heavy metal in the 80s,
mm-hmm.
before the hair bands came out. Kiss could inspire some of your games. I mean, those of us who grew up watching Kiss and saw that horrible TV show. Are you old enough to remember that, Dan?
Are you talking about the Halloween special?
Was it a Halloween special? I can't remember. All I remember is the Star Child shooting
Yeah,
stars out of his
yeah,
eyes.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, lots of music out there, or at least
All right.
musicians that would inspire your role play.
All right.
Have you thought of anything?
Yeah, I've got several. So first off, folks, for the record, I did look it up. The Viking horseman with the axe is Death Dealer, so I was right.
Oh, he is Death Dealer. No,
Yeah.
oh no. There's the Death Dealer picture. Is
Yeah.
that the same?
The guy on the
though?
horse, the Viking-looking guy on the horse with the giant axe.
Yeah.
That's Death Dealer.
Yeah. That's Death Dealer. I'm not talking about that one. Though.
Oh, that's
That's
what you're
not
talking
the. No, this is a. This is a Viking wearing a winged helmet.
about.
Who is
Oh,
walking
okay. I see the one you're talking about.
straight towards you.
I got you. I see the one you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Death Dealer's classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Death Dealer's classic. And I'm familiar with that cover.
Okay.
But it's this cover. That's the one.
I see the one you're talking about.
That's the one that inspires me as a player and as a DM. As a player, I want to be that guy.
Nice.
Charging the opponent. As a DM, I want that to be my NPC, but my players see charging them. This red-bearded Viking coming at them with a hatchet in his left hand and about to take them out, man. That's just gorgeous. Gorgeous.
So Willie says one of my current campaign threads comes right out of In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so once that really influenced the way that I write my games and specifically, influenced the way I build my world. I am a sucker for soundtracks. I will listen to any type of soundtrack that fits the mood I'm looking for. This can be used in your actual game if you are the type of DM that likes to use music in your game. This is obviously a good way to do that. Go look for soundtracks that fit what you're looking for. I don't always have players that like that the music kind of can be distracting, so I don't tend to use them too much. But I do when I am writing out a scene or I'm writing out a plot, I will go find a soundtrack that fits that. So if we are going to be doing nautical stuff with a ship, I'll make a playlist of things like Pirates of the Caribbean or Black Sails, which is a TV series we did not get to, but oh my goodness, go watch Black Sails. That is a fantastic one. Yeah. I'll go do things like that. I will, if I'm thinking about more along the lines of, epic battles, I'll go grab some of those big epic battle, soundtracks. It might be Lord of the Rings, with some of that big stuff, but I'll go completely the other direction, and I'll go grab, something from, a military movie as well. I might go grab something from, say, Black Hawk Down, or I might go grab something from Master and Commander was another one on the nautical that also kind of fits this. Like just things like that. If you're trying to get in the mood on writing your campaign, do yourself a favor, go put some headphones on and just let the music kind of, guide you on that. It works really well. A couple of the other standbys that I tend to go to right now, Last Kingdom's soundtrack, which is another TV series we didn't talk about. Go watch Last Kingdom on Netflix. It's really good. The last season's coming out soon. But that's another one. It's early Britain, with the Britons and the the Saxons and it's good. Go watch it. But that's really the music that influences the way that I game, is the theatrical, the dramatic stuff. Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of like pop music, but I don't know if it necessarily like influences the way I game, if it actually inspires the way that I game. But like Willie, I do like to put references into things from time to time. Anytime I can throw in a David Bowie reference into an RPG in some way, it's going to happen. But that's I don't know if that's necessarily inspiring.
I have thrown in the Lizard King from Jim Morrison in a game.
Oh, so, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. I am the Lizard King.
Now,
I've done things like that.
I will say that there are a couple of bands like The Doors, like Rush, that I can put those on, and those will kind of put me in that same kind of dramatic vibe that a soundtrack will as well when I'm writing. But yeah, that's man, when I'm talking about things that inspire my stories, it's soundtracks. I'm a sucker for soundtracks. All right.
I'll tell you one that would inspire me, in a gaming setting.
Yeah.
And it's a really good one. And then we'll mention Rudolph's comment here because that's a really cool idea, Rudolph. Uh, but dang it, the soundtrack. Oh Jesus! I can tell you one of the songs on the soundtrack right now, but I can't remember the name of the movie. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Oh man, I can see it right there. The song is "A Man of Constant Sorrow."
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Oh, brother, where art thou? Thank you.
Yeah.
My brain is just
Yeah.
not working right tonight.
Oh, that's a good
But
one.
that soundtrack
Yeah.
right there is great inspiration, and that movie could be a movie of that we could go back to and add that movie in as an inspiring movie because it's the story of Ulysses anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
but
It's one of the great quest stories of all time, but just retold.
Yeah, and oh brother, wherefore art thou showed me reinforced. I will say reinforced me how you could tell an old story in a new way.
Yes,
It's just great.
yeah.
So yeah, but Rudolph is working on a story right now where he has sentient weapons continuing a family feud started by their original wielders. Kind of a Hatfield and McCoy story, and I like that a lot.
I like that
because the great thing about that, Rudolph, and you're probably doing something like that, is that means those weapons, if it's a century later, the weapons may know why the feud started, but the family may have forgotten.
Yeah.
And
or the families were forgotten. How about that? Like, they don't even exist anymore. Just the weapons are still carrying it out. I like that idea too. Like, no one even knows like what the history is except for these two weapons. I like this. I like this idea a lot, Rudolph. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you could have like one weapon fall in the hands of one kingdom because the weapons want to destroy each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Or what if two different player characters got them? And now you've got the feud going on in the party. You've now split the party because of this. I like that too.
You like that. I don't like doing that because I've had bad experience. I've had bad experiences as a DM when I've done that. Now I will say I was playing with more immature players, but that has never turned out well for me as a DM. But maybe in an online game that might work better.
See,
but let's just say in a face-to-face game, it's led to a little bit of trauma, actual physical trauma.
Rudolph says that I'm reading his mind.
And
Willie also said all of his players are too young to have heard that album, so there's not much chance of spoilers. The King Crimson album? Yeah, probably. That's all right.
Oh, Willie, you don't know the half of it, my friend. I was running a game. We just ended our campaign last week, and I would throw in references. And I've had this experience twice with some 20-somethings. One in a game I was running, one in a game I was playing in. And in the game I was running, I would throw in references, and the other person over 40 got it, but the three kids under 23 would not get a single reference. So I would drop clues in the references. I would say, something from literature, something from a movie, and they just wouldn't get it. And then the other player over 40 was like, yeah, I get that. And then in a game I was running, a game I was playing in, the GM is like 25 years old and does an excellent job, but later told some of us in a private chat, he said, yeah, Derek makes all these references. I just laugh and have to look them up later.
Yep.
This is the problem with being old.
No,
when you're playing, that's the problem. Because they just don't get the reference.
I look at it as what Rudolph is saying. I don't say that's a problem because that's the nice thing about being our age is we have so much to draw from that younger people haven't discovered it yet. You could borrow that stuff and they don't know the wiser. I mean,
well, running the game, it's fine. Running a game, it's perfect.
No, as a player too, because then as a player, they think that you're like great because you've come up with this thing on the spot. They don't know that you're just cribbing from a old 80s movie.
Well, that's true. I'm thinking just because you know me, I'm thinking just the jokes I make.
Oh well.
Yeah. Oh no. I like for them to think I'm a genius when I steal ideas. And I'll tell you something, a book that we should, speaking of stealing ideas, there is a book that we did not mention and we both should have our butts beat for it. The Black Company by Glenn Cook.
When you started talking about the mercenary company in Thieves World, I almost interjected and said, "Go read Black Company." We were just getting out of time, but yeah, that's another good one.
Dude, one of the best. I'm going to tell you, Glenn Cook.
Yep.
I think one of the most underrated fantasy artists fantasy writers of all time. Glenn Cook. And I used to have that RPG, but again, I don't know if I could run something in that world because that world is sacred to me.
Yeah.
I love those books. Just I need to go back. I need to see if there's an audio book of it and just listen to all that again.
Rudolph asks, do we kind of miss the old split bonus weapons like an axe, a +1 axe, or it's +3 versus undead? Or is it just him? No,
I love it.
I worked those into my games a little bit. You can always work them back in. Even with 5th edition, you can work that in. It might not be a straight bonus. What I'll do sometimes is for example, using our campaign as an example. I just kind of gave all of the players a gear upgrade recently, and they received a lot of this from some, the armory of some paladins that were specialized in fighting dragons. There's now a lot of dragons in the world suddenly, and so this is a good time for them to upgrade that. So what did they all get? They all got basic, +2 weapon, give or take, +2, +3 weapon, depending on what they already had. But the catch is when they are fighting a dragon, they get advantage on it. So you can still do that. You could give them a bonus too. It's just not laid out specifically in the handbook, and I don't know if you necessarily need that extra, bonus for 5th edition as much. But giving someone advantage when they're swinging a sword every time at the enemy, that's huge. So there's definitely ways you can do it.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like that a lot. A weapon, it's +1 and or still a +1 weapon on everything, but now it's advantage. I like that. That is a really good idea.
Yeah.
I still like to put this in my games too, which of course I hate to say I got it from The Hobbit. We didn't say The Hobbit was off the table, but one idea I do love is like a weapon that's +1, but it glows in the presence of some creature.
Yeah,
it alerts you to that this particular creature type is around.
Yep.
I love weapons like that, and
yeah,
thank you, Tolkien, for first inspiring that thought.
Good deal.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, guys, we have gone long again. We get to talking, and we can't ever stop when we're supposed to. We're a little bit over an hour and a half.
I blame Willie and Rudolph. I blame the rat and Rudolph.
I do too.
They come in and they ask, they throw in, and we appreciate your comments.
That's what I was going to say. I blame them, but I thank them as well because that makes these fun. If we can get together a chat with some folks, we'll always take it. Rudolph says, "I'll take that blame." That's the goal here, is just to get together and talk about fun stuff. So I think though we probably need to wrap it up, and we got to get our kids to school tomorrow.
Well, you got to get them up and get them to school. I just got to get mine up because my son is being schooled from home, but I'm not homeschooling him. He's doing online public school.
You got to get him up for that too.
I got to get him up for that. Make sure he eats breakfast and takes his meds, just like he has to make sure Dad takes his meds.
There you go.
So there we go. But hey, guys, we love you listening to us. As always, we love you guys interacting with us. My sign off tonight is going to be two things. One, go by the Good Grognard's website if you like our merch. That Dan worked so hard to get it put together. Please support us by letting people by purchasing it. But we also would appreciate if you'd share this stream with your friends. Let them know. Feel free to share it on any of your social medias. And as always, whether it is the gaming table, the dinner table, or the Lord's table, you're welcome at my table all the time. Everyone's welcome.
And just be good to everyone. Have a good night, folks. We'll see you soon.
God bless. Take care.